Okay, so we are starting with module number 4 here. So in module 4, which is the implementation reality. So we are shifting our focus from the approval of your AI initiative to the execution. So let's assume you approve the AI initiative for your organization. What happens next, which is execution. So this module focuses on operational realities such as the workflow integration, the change management, and the human factors that often determine whether AI initiatives succeed or fail. So we will talk about why most AI initiatives in healthcare do not deliver on their promise. It's really about the AI model itself. This module, as I have planned, will unpack the real reasons for failure. We will focus on implementation, reality, and change management. This is about ensuring your AI investments actually translate into tangible value. So, following up on that idea, we often see a significant gap between how AI is evaluated and what truly determines its success in the real world. What gets evaluated in a lab or a vendor demo is very different from what makes it work in practice. So, we are talking about the implementation paradox here. Model performance metrics and pilot results are really very important, but they do not tell the whole story. Real success hinges on workflow adoption, frontline staff trust, and how well the AI handles the real world variability. So, this gap is where many initiatives falter and is very critical to understand why. So, this brings us to our framework, which outlines the 5 common AI implementation failure modes. These aren't technical failures, they are organizational and leadership failures. We see the pilot to production gap, where a controlled pilot succeeds but production fails due to variability. There's also the governance vacuum, where no one owns the AI performance go after go live. Workflow mismatch means the model works, but it does not fit into the daily operations. Data infrastructure failure occurs when live data feeds are incomplete. Finally, the leadership disengagement means executive sponsors approve, then move on. Most AI initiatives fail because the organization was not ready, not because the model was bad. Understanding these modes is your warning system. So, to navigate these failure modes, we introduce the pilot to production reality model. This model breaks down the AI journey into 3 distinct phases, each with its own risk and leadership roles. The pilot phase, which is week 1 to 12, is controlled with motivated users, early adopters, and vendor presence. Here, leadership sponsors and champions asking, does it work here? But the real risk begins in the scale phase, which is phase 2 here in the slide, months 3 to 9, where the variability increases and the vendor presence decreases. Leadership must provide active governance, removing barriers. Finally, the sustainment phase, which is usually month 9 onwards, is business as usual but with the risk of model drift. Leadership provides oversight, reviewing the performance and making decommission decisions. Remember, a successful pilot is just the beginning of the risk and not the end of it. And here is one of the common patterns in healthcare AI implementations, and something many leaders only realize too late. In the pilot phase, everything looks great. The data is clean, the vendor team is heavily involved, the workflows are simplified. But when the systems move into real operations, data variability and workflow complexity appear, and the performance often drops. This is what I call as a failure zone. The key leadership mistake is assuming that success in a controlled pilot automatically translates to success at scale. So, before any pilot begins, we must define what success looks like. This isn't just good practice, this is a non negotiable leadership act. We need to establish clear, measurable metrics, both primary and secondary, and also define the equity metrics to ensure fair performance across all subgroups. This means agreeing on minimum threshold for scaling up and critically defining the failure criteria upfront. We need to know when to pause or stop, not just when to proceed. And we must name the decision authority for that final evaluation. So, this checklist must be complete before any pilot contract is executed. This proactive approach helps us navigate the risk we discussed earlier in the pilot to production model. Now, let's look at a specific risk that often derails even when initiatives are very well planned. Okay, so one of the most insidious risks in AI implementation is alert fatigue. This happens when clinicians are bombarded with high volume of low actionability predictions. Staff quickly develop reflexive override habits, leading to a dangerous cascade where clinically significant alerts are missed. Ultimately, the entire AI initiative can be suspended or abandoned. The problem directly stems from a lack of clear success metrics and failure criteria, which we just discussed. So, the key critical leadership question here is what is the expected alert volume per clinician per shift, and what workflow changes will support them in responding effectively? We need to answer this before we even think about go live. Let's examine some of these failure modes play out, how this play out in our use cases. Okay, so these are the two case tracks that we have been discussing, and this illustrate how implementation realities can quickly expose failure modes. In our example case A, that is which is a scheduling AI pilot, succeeded in one clinic, but the rollout to 5 clinics with varying EHR adoption created a significant pilot to production gap. The AI generated a daily risk list, but no one was assigned to review or act on it, creating a workflow mismatch. For case number B, which is a screening AI, faced a workflow mismatch because referrals required a physician order, but no process existed for that handoff. There was also a governance vacuum with no named owner for equity monitoring. In both cases, the leadership action is clear: define the workflow, assign the ownership, and formalize the governance before go live. So we must treat implementation as a diagnostic phase and not just as a launch. This means constantly checking for this failure modes and adapting. Okay, we will continue this lecture in the next one.